Hello, I'm Jana Lewis Harkins, with the president of the Oklahoma Federation of Democratic Women's Clubs, and I'd like to welcome you here with us today. We've got some feedback going on, and I don't know if everybody could mute when they are not talking, and we'll see if that helps out a little bit. Again, I want to thank each of you for joining us today. A special thank you to our panelists. I'm going to have each panelist to introduce themselves because I know a little bit about each one of them. For instance, Karen Gaddis. Karen has been a member of the Oklahoma State House of Representatives. Dana Miller, she is currently a city council member in rural Oklahoma, Seminole. Welcome, Dana. And then we have Alicia Andrews, who is the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, and I might add, doing a fantastic job. So we're going to start with introductions. We have one other panelist, Delphia Hawkins, who's also with the Federation, that will probably be joining us. Delphia has actually ran for statewide office as a corporation commissioner years ago. So there's different perspectives that we're going to have going on today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Wallet Hub survey that said that Oklahoma is the absolute worst place for women in the United States and the District of Columbia. We're ranked 51st. It's atrocious. We know that the Oklahoma legislature, the Republican-controlled Oklahoma legislature, has a war on women that they're waging right now as we speak. So, there's just so much to talk about. It's so depressing what's going on right now. And we'd like to hear the different perspectives from these women that are here with us today. So let's start with introductions from Ms. Gaddis.
Hi, I'm Karen Gaddis. I'm a retired educator. I was elected to the Oklahoma House of Representatives in 2017, only served for about 14 months, but I'm here to tell you that if I can win an election, anybody can win an election.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Dana?
Great. Hi, don't go, everyone. My name is Dana Miller. I am an enrolled member of the Red Lake Band of Chippewa for Minnesota, and I'm also half Seminole. I live in Seminole, and I've been in this area pretty much my whole life. I am the Ward 1 representative for the city of Seminole, and I've been in that seat since for almost a year now. Actually, coming up on a year, so I didn't even realize my anniversary is coming up. But I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to visit with you all today and have this really important discussion. And I'm looking forward to it. Hello.
Thank you, Dana. Alicia.
Well, I'm Alicia Andrews. I am the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party. I am halfway through my second term. I've learned a lot in this time around of being involved in the Oklahoma Democratic Party. I got a front row seat to watch Karen Gaddis get elected, and that was definitely some good trouble. I am on my fourth election cycle this time around, and there's a lot more good trouble we need to get into.
For sure. So let's just get right into it. I mentioned earlier about the Wallet Hub survey that says Oklahoma is the worst of the worst. And, there's several factors that go into that, but the one that sticks out to me is the number of women that we have in poverty. I think that live below the poverty line. That is the absolute most disgusting thing that I think of. But I will say that according to that same survey, the bluer the state, the more they support women. And one of the problems is that we have is that the number of women who actually take time out to vote. So I'd like to hear what you all think about the survey findings. What stuck out to you with regard to the survey findings? Where you see that we need to make improvements, what we as women need to do to get the ball rolling back the way that it should. Alicia, you want to start?
Sure. What stuck out to me is that the showing of how many women are in elected office in the state of Oklahoma. That number's dismal. What stands out to me that wasn't on the Wallet Hub report, but is really relevant here in Oklahoma is, and it goes along with the bluer the state, the better they take care of women. Oklahoma has a larger gender pay gap than a lot of states. We have less women participating as elected officials, and it feels like every day our legislature is taking one more shot at women. Just this week we've had the we're going to penalize doctors if they perform abortions. Today is the heartbeat bill. It's just the constant attack on women, and so the report saddened me but didn't surprise me.
To your point, currently in Oklahoma, there are 9 women in the state Senate, 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans. In the House, there's 22 women, 9 Democrats and 13 Republicans. So, yeah, we have a long way to go. Karen, would you like to talk about some of the challenges that you face getting elected and in the Oklahoma legislature?
Well, within the Oklahoma legislature, it was really bad being a freshman Democrat and a woman. I was talked down to multiple times. I was dismissed multiple times. It was very disheartening, but I just had to keep fighting through it every day. I don't think there's too much we can do about what's currently happening now or what's happened in the past, but I do think that in the future, we need to elect more women, Democrat or Republican. I think electing more women would make a big difference in how our politics affects all the other women in the state.
And I think that we're seeing some of what you're talking about now, in that I know that the women in the House of Representatives, I think that they meet together, the Democrats and Republicans, the women, they meet and they caucus and they talk and they, sometimes they pray together. They just realize that their power comes from numbers and from them sticking together. Dana, have you experienced any challenges in your tenure in the city council?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been on the council for a year, and I knew it was going to be a challenge going in for 2 different reasons. One is I am the only female on the city council, and I'm the only person of color on the city council. So I knew that was going to be a challenge going in, and I was excited about it. My first thought was, I'm going to go in and educate everyone and, start building, bridges and alliances and get folks, to understand the community that, one, I represent, but, not only that, but to become advocates. And so that's kind of what I went in and still do to this day, maybe not as enthusiastic once you see the process in place, but it's been a challenge just given that, being a woman on the council, definitely, some of the things that Miss Karen had mentioned, I've had folks who try to interrupt me when I'm talking and, kind of not really talk down to me, but, there are, just those really microaggressions that go on. And fortunately, I feel like I have a good way to address it. And I think those, we all know as women, and especially, women in an area where there's decision making, you have to have a certain skill set to, one, be a little bit kind of above, I guess, above the fray, above the, the pettiness. And that's always a burden that we carry just as women, not only in that setting, but anywhere, right? We have a lot more we have to take care of. But I will say that that skill set really came from other women. I learned from other women. And I think one of the ways that we can address, lifting up other women is not to look to men or even elected officials to do that for us. It really has to be that community of women. So, being Native, and being Seminole, we come from a traditional and matriarchal society where women are the decision makers, where women are the ones who kind of drive where the family and the community are going. And so, kind of getting back to that traditional mindset of a matriarch, I would like to maybe one day introduce you all to a very good friend of mine. She comes to mind. Her name is Sarah Adams Cornell. You know Sarah? She's amazing. And she has a really amazing organization called Matriarch. And that's why she popped in my head when I said that. And what she does is she takes on this whole community of Native women, and they just support each other through everything. And really, they empower each other, stay in touch with each other. I'm just really in awe when I hear about all the things Matriarch does. But it's really not even just women, that circle of women. That I believe the premise is, and Sarah could speak to it more, the premise is to get those women to be kind of leaders and empower and kind of these protectors of their own community, so they can go out and do that for other women, and and so on and so on. And so I would love to see more, especially in the minority communities where we start kind of looking back at that, our matriarchal background and foundation, and get back to that, because I do see a lot of those women, and especially in Sarah's circle, they really are doing some wonderful things, and just that support. So like I said, when I'm on the council and I'm dealing with, and I literally had one tell me in a meeting when I was questioning some contracts, literally said the words, and I can share the YouTube video, said the words, "It's just a good old boy deal." And I was taken aback, but it really helped me to understand even further what kind of it is that we're trying to penetrate and what we're kind of up against. And so, that was very telling, but it was a little disheartening at the same time. But I also would, like to encourage women to go out and encourage your sisters and your aunties and your friends to register to vote. I work really closely with Rock the Native Vote, David Wilson and the United Native Methodist Church Association, and their Rock the Vote efforts. But also here, again, it was just a friend of mine, Stephanie. So it's just two women sitting around talking one day, and we were like, we've got to get more people registered to vote, because the apathy, I think, is where the defeat is happening for women. And so we started a stated group, and it's really ends up, sometimes it's just me, sometimes it's just her and I, but it's the Indigenous Voters Caucus, Indigenous Voters Caucus. And we operate in Seminole County and District 28. And we literally go door to door, and try to get folks registered to vote. I set up a table just this past weekend at a church, and they were having their wild onion dinner. If anybody's from rural Oklahoma, they know how important those wild onion dinners are. And set up a table and registered 4 people to vote. I was out there for about 4 hours and registered 4, but that was 4 more than we started out with. So it's going to take, kind of digging in and doing that type of work. to get those, that connection and kind of get us out of the mindset that we look towards the men in the elected, positions to help raise us up. We all know that that's why we're here. We're going to have to, maybe in my mind, how I think about it is we really have to pull that kind of that matriarch foundation, but dust it off and use it again and start empowering each other.
Great, thank you. You said so many things there, Alicia.
I want to say something that I think is interesting about what Dana said. I've been, heavy in recruiting, and of course it's stepped up, and it's everything that I'm doing now. And I'm doing research district by district. And when you break it down on a district level, there are more voting women in each of these districts than voting men. And so it's interesting that that you say women need to step up, and we do. We represent more than half, and so we do need to step up.
Karen, you have something you want to throw in there? You're still muted.
There we go. There's an old saying that women hold up half the sky. And I think we need to remember that we have more power than we think we do, that we can make the changes that need to be made, but we've got to be involved. My mother said, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So we need to be part of the solution.
Right, exactly. So on the Wallet Hub's survey, Oklahoma ranked 50th in both the women's economic and social well-being category and in the women's health care and safety category, and the fact about the number of women that are insured, even with the passage finally of Medicaid expansion in Oklahoma, we still have so many women that are not insured or are underinsured. So, it is so many things that we need to work on and improve. But, to Dana's point, of getting together, I've known Sarah for a number of years. We met, we were actually on a TV talk show together, and she is just a phenomenal woman that can organize and pull women together. We need to clone Sarah, but we need to definitely clone her ideas. I know that at the rally this past week, or this week, early day before yesterday, on the 5th, she was there speaking. I caught her on the news and I was like, right on, Sarah, right on. She is always right there on the forefront when it comes to women's issues. And, it's sad that, so many other communities of color do not latch on to that matriarchal concept. Although I know in the African American community, women are running households and keeping households together and are active in their churches. They don't get the respect. The respect is not there in the African American community like it is in the Native American community. And certainly our Latino sisters have a hard road to hoe with regard to respect from men and even other women as well. So Karen, what about running for office? You mentioned that early on that, filing is April 13th through the 15th next week. You still have an opportunity to come to the conclusion that you've got to step up. You've got a burning desire to step up and do your part. So what's some advice, Karen, that you would like to share with people who might be considering running for office, women who are considering? Respect from. You're kind of cutting out, Karen. I'm not sure what's going on, but you're cutting out. I think we may lose you there for a bit. So if we lose you, come back in. Alicia?
Right. So I'm going to talk until Karen's sound works. So filing is next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 13th through the 15th. And based on the numbers that Jana mentioned early, the filing.
Karen's still having problems.
So filing is open for whatever party, but I'm the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, so I'm going to talk about Democrats. Based on the numbers that you read earlier, Jana, it is clear that women are represented in the Democratic Party more so. We make up a bigger representation of Democrats. And so what I want to say to any woman who's thinking about running or a woman who knows someone who needs to run, that you have until next Friday to get your paperwork together, get your donor list together, and start and file. Filing is either in person or have someone take it for you. There has to be a cashier's check or money order. The packet is out on okdemocrats.org as well as on the state election board website. I'm gonna pause in case Karen is okay. I've never sat in the legislature, so I can only imagine the challenges of serving as a woman, but I think Dana can probably talk to that. But what I will say that is if you run as a Democrat, as a woman, as a Democrat, you won't feel left out. You will get the support because women are on equal footing, if not ahead, in the Democratic Party.
Karen, are you, oh, she dropped off. She's going to probably try to come back in. Dana, would you like to add anything about women stepping up to run?
Yeah, so it's always a little, I always think that we're, we live in, as women, we live in these really difficult spaces where, society teaches us to, be docile and to be supportive. And, it really is, it takes a whole change in the mindset for a woman to say, not only am I going to do that, maybe I also do that, but I'm also I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to speak up. And when men or anyone tries to interrupt me, I'm going to speak even louder. And, I'm going to get my point across. There's things that I want done, and I'm not going to rely on anyone else to do it. I'm going to do it myself. And so, that kind of narrows that down a little bit. So those women who are who want to lead, I think exactly what you said, Alicia, it really is that support that is just the monumental part, because I've been in that space where you don't feel supported. You walk into, a room, especially me with the city council, and it's very clear how alone you feel. And even when you decide to speak up, and even when you get into not a confrontation, but a discussion or an exchange of ideas with someone, and you're the only one in the room who has that idea or that is pushing that idea, it does feel very alone. You feel very alone, and it makes you want to retreat back to yep, I need to step in the background and it's where it's at. But if you know that you have these women who are right next to you, who are maybe not physically there, but they're cheering you on, they're checking on you, they're hey, I'll go with you this weekend and knock on doors for you. It just really does so much for that, not only relationship building in the community, but it also, it really does make you feel like you're not alone. You don't have to be scared to step out. And so I really would love to see again more of the support of women who are supporting women who want to take that leadership role, even if it's just add a girl on a social media post, even if it's just again, personally checking on them and making sure that they have all the resources they need. I really would like to see that more. It means a lot. And also too, if you don't mind, I want to switch just a little bit too. You had, I believe you mentioned Medicaid, and Medicaid expansion, and how, you know, so many people now have access to healthcare who never had it before. And when I think about, you know, the good trouble, the necessary trouble of women, you know, being a force in the political community of Oklahoma, there are three things that come to mind. The first one is to vote, and to not only get registered to vote, but to actually vote, to go out and vote in your own interest. That means that an educated vote, an educated voter. And then, you know, the mentorship, what I, you know, just talked about, how women can mentor and support each other, but also to access to healthcare is, you know, if you don't have health, you have nothing. And, you know, if women, if we don't feel well, if our children aren't well, if our spouses, our partners are not well, we are the ones who, you know, take on that burden. And that's really all we focus on. So having people in your family and your circle and yourself being well, really, I think is probably paramount to anything else. Again, because if you're not well, you can't do anything. But especially access to behavioral health. And I'm really excited that these adults who came in expansion do have access to dental care and behavioral health services. Women, we go through a lot, and we, you know, again, that feeling of not having the support, and that weighs on you mentally. And so the access to behavioral health care, I think, is very important to women. So, you know, it's kind of, I always think about, like, on the airplane, they tell you, you got to put your mask on first so you can take care of other people. And definitely that's what I feel about, you know, the women who are not only the leaders, but the women who are supporting the leaders. They have to be well in order to do any of that. So I would like to see more, not only now that some of these folks have coverage, now I want them to see access. I want to see access to those services, because I do think one begets the other. If women are well, and especially mentally well, they're going to be able to just go out and do so much more, and hopefully move mountains.
Right. And one of the things that I, you know, what I call one of the silver linings of the pandemic is how we become more proficient in technology. And, you know, I think that we need to, as far as supporting each other, you know, use Zoom and other technologies like this to touch base and have something set up on a regular basis. I know this past weekend, or last Friday, I attended what was billed as I forget, a virtual happy hour. One of our legislators, Trish Ranson from Stillwater, she had a virtual happy hour, and it was we just sat around and talked. I told her that it felt more to me like a virtual house party, you know, but, you know, it was just a bunch of people sitting around loving on each other, supporting each other. That's what it was. And I think that Representative Trish is going to continue that up through Election Day. She's got, you know, a few opponents, and she's wanting to just keep base, give her constituency an opportunity and her volunteers to touch base together. But I think that, you know, it's just so important that we support one another, and and we should use technology where we can, because, you know, you live in Stillwater. I could, you know, that's not that far, but it's, you know, I could touch you on Zoom a lot quicker and a lot better. Karen, are you with us now?
I am.
You're muted. Okay, great.
Miracle of miracles. Thank goodness my daughter-in-law is here to help me.
Hi, daughter-in-law.
See, women supporting other women.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Alicia, before I want to hear from Karen, but do we have any updates yet? Not yet? Okay.
Okay.
Karen, we're just talking about women supporting one another and how important it is that we do that we keep in touch, that we start processes and programs to make sure that, you know, from a emotional and mental health perspective, that we have the support that we need. Anything to add along that line?
Well, I was just thinking, I met some of the most wonderful people when I ran for office. Some wonderful women who were so supportive and so helpful and so eager to go out and volunteer and do anything that my campaign needed. And they're still really good friends, even though I'm not holding elected office. And I would have totally missed out on making those new friends if I hadn't gone into politics. So I think that politics is a broadening experience, in that it broadens your viewpoint on a lot of things, but it also broadens your friendships, which I think is very important to me. But I just wanted to encourage women to file for office next week. I think it's so important. One of the mistakes that I made in my first campaign, I actually ran 3 campaigns. I ran in 2016, 2017, and 2018. But in my first campaign, one of the mistakes I made was I thought I could handle it myself, and I couldn't. And I learned very quickly that I had to have professional help. So the reason the professional help is so important is because it takes all the pressure off of the candidate. The candidate is only supposed to do 2 things. I kept hearing this over and over. The candidate only knocks doors and makes calls. That's it. You don't worry about signs. You don't worry about publishing things. You don't worry about commercials. You don't worry about things. The campaign director takes care of all of that.
Right. And another thing is that they're going to make sure that you make those calls.
Yes.
You're going to have someone on your shoulder saying, you've got call time. You've got call time. Where's your call log? And if you don't have that professional help, then there's a tendency to put it off. There's always something else that you think that needs to be done. But running for office, especially when you get at the state level, running for the House or the Senate, it's definitely that you have to have professional help. And I would encourage it too at the school board and the
definitely
civic level as well.
School board elections recently.
Yeah. And I think that's where, back in the day, you could do that. I think about Hannah Adkins when she ran her first campaign. It was really just her and a bunch of kids, but this is a different world that we're living in, and, the David Bourne's Broom Brigade or it was just a bunch of kids, really.
I think a lot of women think, but I already have a job. Well, yeah, you do. But so did John Waldron when he ran. And he stayed a teacher through his entire election. So where do you think all of the insurance salesmen and the attorneys and the pharmacists in the legislature came from? They all had jobs too.
Right.
But they got elected. So don't let having a job hold you back. Don't think that you can't raise the money, because you can. You may not know the people who can provide the money, but your campaign director knows who those people are, and he or she can get you connected.
Right.
So you don't have to bankrupt your family to run an election. No, I swore I would not do that before I got involved. Don't think I don't know enough people. Who's going to vote for me? Believe me, the campaign director knows every voter in that district. Whether they vote regularly, whether they're Republicans or whether they're Democrats or whether they cross over or whether they're independents, they know all of that. So it's vitally important that you get professional help. Now, if you do decide to run for office, tell somebody in your county Democratic Party or even the state Democratic Party, tell Alicia, and they will welcome you with open arms. They will do everything they can to make sure that you are successful. They will push you. They will help you. They will do everything possible. I really think that we that you need to start raising money immediately. You can do that. You can contact everybody on your Christmas card list. Contact all your sorority sisters or your fraternity brothers or whatever. But there are hundreds of people who know you and respect you, and whether they're Republicans or Democrats, if you ask them to make a contribution, no matter how small, whether it's just $5 or $10, then that makes a difference, and they'll help you. If they know your character and they believe in you, they'll help you. So you're not in this alone, but you need to find a professional to help you, and everybody in the Democratic Party will be behind you. I had state representatives and state senators come and knock doors for me, all the way from Oklahoma City or across the state. They came all the way to Tulsa to knock doors for me. So people are there to help.
Last week when Jenna Nelson announced her candidacy for superintendent of public instruction, the number of people, I think I learned this from Alicia, and Alicia shared this information, but then I followed up on social media, and she was exactly right. There were so many legislators and elected officials that came out to show their support for her, announcing that she has stepped up. Here, this woman, a teacher of the year, she said, this is something I'm passionate about. This is something that I want to do. This is something I feel like I can do. And now she has an overwhelming amount of support, bipartisan support, for her candidacy. And so, I look at our lieutenant governor race. As far as I know, we still don't have a candidate for lieutenant governor. I know 50 people that can do a much better job than the current person is doing, and I know people that have worked in state government that have the organizational skills. And yes, if you're listening, cousin, I'm talking about you that could do that job. We just need to step up as women and say, this is necessary. This is good. We're not going to take it. We're going to step forth and get in some good trouble and run for office. There's a couple of other places too. Alicia, where are your holes?
So first I want to say, is your cousin a female?
Yes, she is.
Okay. So you've already asked her before?
Not for this particular position, but I've been talking to her about running for office, and she's considering it, but she lives in one of those House districts where we've got a great incumbent. Well, there's other things. There are other things. There are other things.
The reason I ask is because women typically, the statistics show, women typically have to be asked 7 times before they say yes. So I'm going to say you asked her once, you've asked her here. I'm asking her to please run so we can get in our 7. So maybe she'll file by the time filing time is over.
Well, I'm going to call her again when we get off of here.
Awesome. So, right now, do not have a lieutenant governor candidate. And I'm going to say this is the right time. Earlier, when I was recruiting for lieutenant governor, everybody said that our current guy, whose name I'm not going to say because I know most people don't know his name because he doesn't do anything, but he's now in hot water over a deal that he's made. This is a good time for a Democrat to step up. We don't have an attorney general candidate. And again, there has been one big objection. I'm ignoring that objection because if we run from what we think is hard, then the other side will continue to dominate. Additionally, we do not have a candidate for insurance commissioner or labor commissioner. So what we're looking at is lieutenant governor, attorney general, insurance commissioner, labor commissioner. Those are the holes that I still have to fill.
Okay, thank you. And I think that my cousin would be a great lieutenant governor. And as far as because of the organizational skills that she has. And she learned that through state government. She knows how state government works or should work, and would do much better. I have to keep my tongue in order. It wants to go and say ugly words, but I'm not sure we're getting some feedback here. But yeah, we just got to step forward and run. That's really what this is about. This particular hour is about how things must change, and we can change them. We need to organize, we need to coalesce, and we need, whether it's helping the Rock the Native vote with their, booths at Wild Onion dinners, or if we're at Juneteenth with the African American caucus, helping them man their tables, and all of these festivals and things that we've got going on. We can't wait. We've got to meet the people where they are. Having events and inviting people are okay, but if you meet them where they are, 9 chances out of 10, they're not going to ask you to leave. They're going to be surprised that you're there, but they're going to be happy that you're there, and they're going to embrace you. And then you can talk about these issues that if you find out what is of concern to them, you tell them what's of concern to you. The fact that 71 pieces of legislation have been introduced this year in 28 states about abortion. And, we've got a bunch of them here. I don't know that many people that are in favor of abortion or embrace abortion, but they embrace the right of a woman and a family to choose what's best for them. They don't want politics in the examination rooms. That's what upsets people. But the reason that is because we don't have enough women raising their voices and stepping up and running for office. Alicia, did you have something else?
So that is a big thing, and that's what's happening in our state. And they cloak. It feels like the most offensive bills get the most friendly sounding names. The protection of women, the protection of the unborn. And then when you read what the bill is, it is absolutely the control of women, or taking away the rights of women. I don't know folks well, maybe I do, but I think the majority of folks are of the same belief that I am, that abortion should be legal, rare, and safe. And if our legislators, and you've heard me go on this rant before, but you open this door, if our legislators really care about taking care of women, the protection of women, the answer is to fix the things that make the decision to carry the pregnancy the term, to fix the things that make that decision easier. Close the gender pay gap, raise minimum wage, make access to health care more readily available, make to education more readily available. Senator Boren explained to me, I didn't know because I just went to OU, that if you go to a religious school like an Oklahoma Baptist University and you find yourself pregnant, you find yourself unenrolled. You lose whatever scholarship you have, you lose whatever credit you're no longer enrolled in that university. If it was about the protection of women, we would pass laws that actually made the lives of women better.
Right. So I have a question for you, Alicia. I was very disheartened to find that we have one of our women in the Oklahoma legislature that has decided that she will not be running again. We have 2? Who are they? And do we have someone that's stepping up to run in those seats?
Absolutely. So Denise Brewer from Tulsa, HD 71, has decided not to run, but Amanda Swope, who just stepped down from being the chair of Tulsa County, has announced and is running in that seat. And then Marilyn Bell from I want to say
Norman,
45. And in Norman is leaving the state. And so she's not running, but Annie Mintz, who works at the Capitol now, who has been active in Democratic parties for a long time, has stepped up and announced, and she's running in that seat as well.
Great.
So whenever there's a hole, we're there backfilling.
Well, wonderful. It's unfortunate that you won't be able to do anything. You know, we lost a great person, Norman Mayor Bria Clark. It's just so disheartening that she's out simply because she implemented the first mask mandate for a municipality in the country. And people are upset about wearing masks to control the pandemic. And that's what started the trouble with Bria Clark. And now we'll never be able to say Norman is a progressive city again. That's an opportunity that we've lost. Anyone want to share about that?
Well, I'm brokenhearted. I'm sorry, Dana.
Go ahead.
I'm brokenhearted because arguably Mayor Clark had the biggest Democratic constituency, and so to lose her does change. Had Democratic constituency. Losing her does change what happens to Norman, and she lost her seat because of a loud minority. And what we have to do is be loud minorities wherever we are, because it apparently is making a difference. It was a loud minority, and then we have to show up and counter that. And I'm gonna losing her does change what let Dana talk. And she lost her seat because of a loud minority. And what we have to do.
Are you all still hearing that?
Is be loud minorities wherever we are. Because
it's so weird. I'm still hearing it, but I know you already said it.
I'm not sure what it is. It's like somebody, it's logged in twice somewhere.
Yeah.
Let Dana talk.
Huh.
Go ahead, Dana.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. They're out. So, I definitely agree, and that's hearing that as well when I saw those results, and it made me think that she did. I think she lost by 7%, which is not a big. But I think more about the allies that we have. We talked earlier about supporting women, but it definitely is recruiting those women who are our allies as well, and keeping them involved. In my home, I have 6 students and they're all registered to vote. I make my voice heard as far as what I would like to, what my on votes that are coming up, and we have those discussions in our home. I have 3 allies in my home, but I don't see those allies outside of my home as well. The men in our community. Those conversations with them. I definitely, I know this is going to sound awful, and I apologize if it comes across that way, but also not every female is an ally of female leadership as well. When you talk about those abortion bills on a federal level and even on a state level, there are women voting for it. There are, elected female leaders who are for all intents and purposes anti-female, I think. And so, we really do need to focus on getting in that educated voter out to the polls. And so how do we do that? Look at the men who are our allies and kind of plead our case and hopefully that they continue to be our allies and help them be vocal and support them as well in their efforts to, help us get out of that country as far as, being a state that is good for women. That's just awful. And I hate to hear that. But it really is going to take not only the women to keep pushing, but our allies as well. Men who support women in these efforts are really going to be the key to helping us get out of this as well.
Thank you, Dana. Karen, I've muted your mic because the feedback is coming from you, but I'm going to go ahead and unmute you because I think you had something you wanted to add. Well, for some reason now it's not letting me unmute you. So can you unmute yourself? Go right ahead, Karen. Oh, you're back muted again. Karen, are you there? I think her screen is frozen again. Yeah, it is. Okay, this has just been, I'm just excited about this conversation because you all took the conversation right where I wanted it. It is just that we have got to step up. We need women to step up and get in some good trouble and run for office. And as was said earlier, the support is going to be there for you. You know, I've always said, I've actually had a couple of people ask me to run this time. I'm soon going to be 70 years old. I've been involved in politics since I was in my early 20s. And I said then that I'd rather know a politician than to be one. And that's still the way that I feel about it. That, you know, I like having the phone numbers of elected officials so that I can call them and raise my voice and let them know how I feel about particular issues. And I don't think that there's any doubt that anybody has where I stand. I am a proud progressive. I would even go so as far to say as I am a yellow dog Democrat, was born and raised to be a yellow dog. And my ancestors, who I love so dearly, would be rolling over in their graves if I did anything different. So, but I want to see more women in our Oklahoma legislature. I want to see more women in our statewide elected officials. And I am just so excited about the candidacies of Kendra Horn, Madison Horn, Joe Glenn, you know, even at the county commissioner level, we here in Oklahoma, thank God it's not my county commissioner district, but there's three, the incumbent is female and she has two females that are running against her. I don't hold anything against either one of them. Out here, I'm going to have the opportunity to vote for a dynamic woman in Kathy Cummings. As far as I know, she's the only Democrat that has running at this particular time. So I am so excited about the women who are stepping up. Connie Johnson, Joy Hoffmeister running for governor. And we're going to have to do all that we can between now and November the 8th to ensure that these women and the other progressive Democratic candidates that we have, the men that have been showing us that they are true allies, we have got to get them reelected. We have got to do, there is so much work that needs to be done between now and Election Day. And this is a message that we will be sharing with our convention delegates when we meet the Oklahoma Federation of Democratic Women on Saturday. If I know that Alicia's going to be there. Dana, if you could join us for a little bit, I think it will be very informative. And we would love to have you working with us and helping us start a club in Seminole. Also, on tomorrow, we have a legislative panel, and we have 4 of our dear friends from the Oklahoma legislature. Let's see there, I'm going to probably mess it up, but I know that Senator George Young, Representative Trish Ranson, and I can't remember the other 2 people. Oh, I'm going to blame it on the shingles. So But we have tune in tomorrow at noon for our a great legislative panel that will be moderated by our dear friend Debbie Hope Downing. And I know that she's been on it today, making sure that her panelists are going to be showing up. So I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Do we have a vote yet? I guess they're voting now. So when you get off, tune in to watch a dynamic woman, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who will soon be Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Promise made by President Joe Biden, promise kept. And I will say that this is why it's so important that we get involved, that we vote, that we support candidates that support us, because of Black women and their support and how they pulled President Biden's campaign out of the dirt. He felt compelled to make that promise, and he has kept that promise, that now our Supreme Court will mirror the United States of America. All of us will be represented on the highest court in the land. And again, thank you so much to all of our panelists. I saw that Delphia tried to get in, but she was having connection problems. So thank you again. Been a great hour. Any closing words? Okay, thank you all.
Bye.